Good morning, all you folks out there in YouTube land. Thrash Pondo here. And as you know, I promised you folks on the Sunday Night Live chat I would have new material for you this week. And here it is, Hump Day, and old Humpty Dumpty here hasn't given you any new content. So I decided I really got to get the ball rolling and provide you with something new on the content page. And I decided there are many, many things that I'm working on, probably too many, hence the lollygagging, but I decided I wanted to do this one while it's still fresh in my head. And that is. Ooh, don't tell me. I see the sad thing is I'm only half kidding. That is The Girl with All the Gifts. Now, the funny thing about this film is people have been telling me for years, Bob, you gotta go out and see this film, as they know I'm a fan of post apocalyptic fiction and specifically zombie lore. And no excuse. Never saw it. Probably too busy rewatching and rewatching and rewatching my Riff Tracks version of Night of the Living Dead, which cannot be understated. But finally, the other day, I went out and I watched it, and I gotta tell you, this is a gem. It is really a love letter to people who love zombie fiction. It's sort of, oh, Day of the Dead meets The Last of Us if it was written by Richard Matheson. It just it draws from any number of sources and creates something that is completely and totally non-derivative. Something that's really, well, as I always say, I have no trouble with cliches provided they bring something new to the table. And oh boy, does this one bring something new. I should probably point out at this stage of the ball game, there's going to be spoilers. But anyway, the premise is fairly uh commonplace. Years after an outbreak, in this case, it's a fungal outbreak, but it's a fungal outbreak which creates a situation that cordyceps fungus, which is deceptive at the core, and when it gets into you, it basically creates, um, you know, characteristics generally associated with zombies. So it's sort of fungal zombie-ification, I guess would be the technical term. And it takes place on a military base, which is just hanging on to survival by its fingernails. But out of characteristic, they have a group of children they're doing scientific experiments on. Glenn Close is probably the biggest star you can find in this film, and she plays your typical mad scientist with a heart of gold. She's actually, well, you know the type. She's willing to do things that are downright obscene in the name of science, but for the benefit of mankind, and it creates that dilemma, which I'll let you guys work on your own. I'm going to butcher the poor lady's name. Uh, Gemma Arterton plays a teacher who is teaching these young children, who we find out, mm, long story short, they were the product of uh, pregnancies that took place during the early stages of the pandemic. So they're sort of zombie light. They're not. They're sort of second generation zombies who, in some ways, can control their zombie instincts to an extent. Principal zombie played by Sienna Nanu, Nanu. Shazbut. And she actually does an amazing job as a sort of zombie school child, orphan of the state approach. Oh, and one other person I gotta mention, Paddy Considine is in it, and I know him best through the Game of Thrones sequel, House of Dragon. But he is absolutely amazing at this. He plays that rugged, hardcore, um, survivalist sort of soldier. And over the course of the movie, we get his backstory. We find out that he actually wasn't even a professional soldier. He was the Territorial Army, which is England's equivalent to a weekend warrior, but through the need to survive, became the sort of battle-hardened survivalists. And that's all. true good English science fiction is it becomes a road movie. So, yep, you guessed it. At a critical point in the scientific experimentation being done at this army outpost, it gets overrun, and a small handful of survivors, already named, basically hit the road and try to make it to guess what? Another base, which on paper has not also been overrun. And the weirdest thing about this is there's like overlapping story arcs. Yes, Glenn Close, that mad scientist. See, yeah. Oh, say, can you? She thinks she can create a vaccine, an elixir, a medical solution to this problem. Guess how? Yes, exactly. She has to kill the children and extract the serum from the grossest part of it, the brains. Whereas the teacher develops a sort of mama bear love of the child, so she they have like a whole uh surrogate mother daughter thing going on. Patty's just trying to stay alive, and he's by the book, and just trying to get them to this base again, which may or may not be there. It's the castle all over again. But there's a lot of great facets in this. A lot of things like, oh, he got this from this, and oh, Mike Carey is the gentleman who wrote it, and Cole McCarthy, I believe, is the director. But you can pick out all these other influences. Like, for example, Last Man on Earth. There's actually a scene where Gemma finds a dog, and you think, oh, of course, she finds the dog in the same way Neville finds the dog. And does she befriend the dog and try to nurse it back to health? No. She uses it as bait to draw the zombies away so the humans can escape. There's another scene involving a cat, which I'll just leave you to. There's also, remember how I said the children that are the result of women who were pregnant during the pandemic um have a certain level of survival, which again was touched upon by Matheson in Last Man on Earth. They weren't all found by the surviving military. Another spoiler here. Some have actually gone feral and create this sort of uh, Thunderdome, Lost Children type situation in a city they come across. And she actually has to battle their de facto leader in a certain scene. And it's so funny. You think it's going to be like something out of I Shall Not Kill Today, where she'll defeat the de facto leader, but offer him mercy, and the children will somehow be ingratiated and learn humanity through. No, she bashes his skull in. And I mean, like, really, I mean, like, we're talking 2001 level. I mean, it was actually a kind of an intense scene, reminiscent of, speaking of zombie lore, of Karen in Night of the Living Dead. Now, the truly bizarre thing, and again, I can't help but think that there was a certain level, and I've mentioned Greybeard in reference to other science fiction before, specifically uh, Children of Man, obviously, and a few other works, but those feral children are literally, not figurative, they're literally something out of Ryan Aldous' novel, Greybeard. So go out and read Greybeard for crying out loud. I keep begging, but anyway, that's another story. Yeah, read Greybeard and someone at the lesson. But like Greybeard, I'm going to actually skip that. Completely unlike Greybeard, but like other things, this film has a happy ending to an extent. Uh, This happy ending you're going to get from a post-apocalyptic zombie movie. And I think I've ruined everything enough. So anyway, go out, watch The Girl with All the Gifts. Please tell me what you think. If you've already seen it, please tell me in the comments below. And again, of course, before you do that, don't forget like, subscribe, share, put on your platforms, um, share and share alike. Just help me get this ball rolling. I mean, it's only been 4 years, but I really like to get to 400 people before we hit the 5 year mark. With this, anyway, that's all the begging I'm going to do for now. But anyway, other than that, be good, be safe, be careful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.